Oh, thank you, Nishta. Thank you, Arnab, and everyone attending this conference, if I could call it like a conference. I have been talking on these issues for years now, right? And some of you must be wondering, I keep saying the same thing again and again in a different style, different approach. But the fact is that, when it comes to understanding the environment, we are just the beginners. So as a result, changing the direction of conversation is not easy because only when we understand the environment better, probably we'll be able to take a minor change in the direction of the conversation. To these youngsters who made wonderful presentations, and they provide that hope that while the past might have a lot of holes in it, probably they will make sure that the future is better. Arnab, if you remember, I think a couple of years ago when we were again commemorating the World Ocean Day, in fact, I remember the UN Secretary General made a very interesting comment. Now, I don't remember the exact language, but I'll paraphrase from my memory. What he said was that ocean or the environment as a whole, they have been serving humanity for ages. We are here because the environment helped us to be here. And we are looking at the environment again to support us into future so that we have better life. What he said was that he said we can trust the oceans to serve us, but can the oceans trust us? Now, that was a very profound statement coming from UNSC. And if you ask me really, should the oceans trust us? I don't have a categorical response. Because you see what other aspects of environment, they trusted us and how we have treated them. In fact, a few days ago on 5th of June, we had the World Environment Day. And we were discussing that with Nishta. The land trusted us, yes, and what we have done to the land. You see, today almost 40% of the land is wasted because of human activity, yes. The forest trusted us and what we have done to them. 1/3 of the historic forest is completely lost. The rivers trusted us and what we have done to them. There are reports half the global rivers are in terrible condition. Biodiversity trusted us and what we have done to that. I would not go into details because I'm sure many of you would remember those details. And now we are asking the ocean to trust us. Yes. The parameters I mentioned just now, be it forest or mountains or rivers or land, we know them better. At least we claim we know them better. We can see what's happening there as a result of our action. If there we have not done a good job, what shall we do to the ocean? Where 90% of the ocean is not even familiar to us. In one of the conversations, Arnab, if you remember, one part where I will try to take cover in this conversation is that To have a dialogue, you must understand the language of the party you are dealing with. When it comes to the environment as a partner, the language of the environment is very, very complicated. And we are not able to understand that language. As a result, we are not able to understand when the partner suffers. And by the time we get to know the partner is suffering, is too late. And the damage has already been done. And the reversal of damage to the environment is very, very difficult. Now, coming to the ocean, where is the ocean's language? How does ocean speak? Now, the ocean speaks underwater. Yes. And the ocean's language are chemical signals, physical signals, biological signals. There are so many signals, and they operate simultaneously at different frequencies, at different intensity. Now, combining all that and understanding what the ocean is trying to tell us is not easy. And that is where underwater domain awareness is absolutely essential and a starting point. You see, if you ask me, I have been dealing with these matters for many years now. You know, ocean is much bigger than the land. And it houses much bigger biodiversity than land. It provides tangible and intangible benefits to humanity, which you can't even imagine. We look at the tangible. We talk about blue economy. We talk about fisheries. We talk about shipping. We talk about energy, renewable energy, or biotechnology, or hydrocarbons. But I think what is more important is their intangible contribution. You know, very few people understand 1/3 of the carbon dioxide we produce as humans is absorbed by the oceans. And 90% of the heat. Now we are so worried about heat and global warming. 90% of the heat is absorbed by the oceans. They don't even tell you that I have done the service to you or a favor to you. Yes. The oxygen we breathe, every second breath we take is oxygen produced by the oceans. They host 90% of the planetary biodiversity. What are we doing to them? We are polluting the oceans. We are causing acidification of ocean waters. We are damaging the biodiversity. Friends, I'm sure you may not have heard of that. When we were damaging the land ecosystems beyond repair, there was a report, and this report was produced by Club of Rome, and the title of the report was Limits to Growth. If you get time, please read that report. And there was a revised version done a couple of years ago, in fact, where the Club of Rome came to this was really the cream of cream in terms of brain power, in fact. They came to the conclusion, if we do not look after the environment, our growth expectation would be limited because the environment will come back and will start hunting and hurting us. Here, last week, there was a report that this year's offshoot is going to be July end. Can you imagine? We will exhaust the Earth's resources for the annual quota in July. And this has been happening for last almost 15, 20 years, which means every year we dig into the Mother Earth for 5 months beyond our quota. If we keep doing it, do you think the environment will stay silent? Now we are talking about global warming as an existential threat. There will be many more if we don't care. And to care, we must understand. And to understand, you must do what you people are doing, in fact. It is not an easy job. It's the heavy lifting because oceans and environment are data heavy, in fact. The huge data, in fact, we can't even imagine the amount of data you need to interpret the language of the ocean and the language of the environment. But today, thanks to the mega data processing facilities that we have, thanks to the AI applications, I think we have the capacity not only to generate mega data, but also do its analysis in the right manner. But keep in mind, the ultimate goal is not to mistreat the environment. Whatever we are doing in terms of whatever we are doing, these are tools which should enable us so that we don't mistreat the environment. So the underlying goal must be understood very well. And I'm sure the youngsters understand that better because it's their future which is at stake if the environment is not able to carry the burden of humanity. Yes, I was telling Nishta the other day, environment doesn't care for conservation. Let it be hot or cold or whatever. Who needs it? We need it. If that is our requirement for survival, we should care for it. Yes. And now, as I was here listening to other speakers, in fact, when it comes to data collection on the oceans, it's not only the research vessels. Every vessel or boat which goes into the ocean can capture the data in real time and can pass it on to you. But we have to learn to work together. As long as we keep working in silos, a lot of opportunity will be lost, right? There are thousands of ships they keep flying. In fact, the other day I was reading a very interesting, anecdote, not really anecdote, but a story, because somebody was asking, how did we get to know that in last century or last 2 centuries or 3 centuries, how the Earth's temperature has behaved? That data was collected by the British Navy, in fact, and the commercial vessels. When they used to travel, it was a mandatory requirement that they will collect data on the ocean's environment. And that data tells us how we have behaved with the environment. I think we should not really let it go, let this opportunity go. Every vessel that goes to the ocean, they must collect data. And I was hearing the presentation before me. Today we have capacity of those sensors. Those sensors can collect the basic environmental data, be it the temperature, chemical variation, or even the biodiversity. Why not do it? Collect that data, converge into the facility that we have today for analyzing mega data, and then use those conclusions in developing what is called marine spatial planning. Because no blue economy will work without a proper, effective marine spatial planning. And for that, you need data, real-time data, and the capacity to analyze it so that we are able to draw those red lines which we should not cross. Right? We should not wait for the symptoms to emerge. We must know the reasons which are causing those symptoms. And that is where underwater domain awareness is absolutely essential. So with these words, I wish you all the best. And I'm sure you will be remembered in years and ages to come that at least somebody tried to understand the complicated language of the environment. Thank you very much.